How thin is too thin for a smartphone? That's the question a lot of people are asking after seeing the latest leak about the upcoming iPhone 17 Air. Apple's going all in on a new super slim design, and based on what we're seeing, it's unlike anything they've done before. This isn't just about making the phone a little sleeker. Apple might be introducing its thinnest iPhone ever, and we're talking just 5.5 millimeters thick. That's thinner than some wallets and a lot thinner than the usual iPhone models. For comparison, the iPhone 17 Pro models are expected to be around 8.7 millimeters. So yeah, that's a pretty big difference. Tech YouTuber Louis Hilsentigger from Unbox Therapy recently got his hands on new dummy models, and even he looked shocked by how thin it was. The device looks almost futuristic, but that also brings up a real concern. Is it going to bend? If you remember back in 2014, the iPhone 6 Plus faced serious backlash for bending too easily. That whole thing even got its own name, Bendgate. And guess what? It was Louis who first posted the video showing the iPhone 6 bending by hand. So if he's worried about this new one, maybe we should be too. But Apple's not ignoring that history. According to the leaks, they're using a titanium and aluminum frame to make sure this iPhone stays strong. The goal is to balance that crazy thin body with enough support so it doesn't fold in half when you sit down. And it's not just the thickness that's been adjusted. Originally, Apple wanted to use a 6.9-inch display just like the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but now they've scaled it back to 6.6 inches. The reason? A bigger screen means more chance for bending. So this is Apple playing it safe, trying to keep the design bold but still practical. Now here's another big question. What about the battery? A super thin iPhone sounds cool until you realize there might not be enough space for a solid battery. That's a real worry. But Apple seems to be planning ahead for that too. They're reportedly dropping extra camera lenses on the iPhone 17 Air so that more space inside the phone can go to the battery. So while the camera setup might not match the Pro models, it could still offer good performance without draining the battery too quickly. Plus, Apple's using a more efficient mode of chip, the new C1, which they designed in-house. Combine that with better software optimization, and the battery life is expected to be about the same as current iPhones, even with the smaller battery. So in the end, this isn't just another iPhone with a slightly new shape. The iPhone 17 Air might be a major shift in how Apple thinks about design, portability, and hardware. We'll have to wait and see how it actually performs when it launches, but one thing's for sure, it's got people talking. Would you actually want an ultra-thin iPhone like this? Or do you think Apple's going too far trying to make everything slimmer? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more iPhone leaks and tech news just like this. Are people still excited about phones that fold in half? Samsung is hoping the answer is yes, because the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and Fold 7 are just around the corner. According to reports from people close to the production line, things are already getting into motion. This matches earlier leaks that hinted Samsung would begin the manufacturing process sometime in May. Even though there were some early problems, especially with chip supplies, things seem to be moving along on schedule now. Let's take a look at what we know about the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It's expected to use the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, also being called the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. This is the same high-end processor that powers Samsung's current Galaxy S25 series. So if you're someone who wants a foldable phone without sacrificing speed or smoothness, that's great news. At one point, people wondered if Samsung might go back to using its own Exynos chips in the Fold 7, but that doesn't seem to be the plan anymore. Things get a bit more interesting with the Galaxy Z Flip 7. This one has been spotted being tested with Exynos chips. In fact, two separate test versions of the Flip 7 were seen earlier this month, and both were running on Exynos processors. So now the big question is, will Samsung go back to releasing different versions of the same phone for different countries? They used to do this. Some regions would get Snapdragon, while others got Exynos, but they stopped because the performance differences were too noticeable. If Samsung brings back that idea, we can once again see people in different parts of the world using the same phone with very different experiences. Looking further ahead, Samsung is working on something even bigger. Their new Exynos 2600 chip, built on a 2nm process, is in development and could power the Galaxy S26 next year. The goal here is pretty clear. Samsung wants to stop depending so much on Qualcomm and start using more of its own chips in future devices. Their chip-making division, Samsung Foundry, is making steady progress according to recent updates. Meanwhile, Apple is staying with its 3nm chips for now. The iPhone 17 series will likely continue using that technology with a possible move to 2nm coming in the iPhone 18 lineup. But smaller chips are more expensive to make, and that could drive up the cost of future iPhones. Some experts are saying that Samsung's 2nm chips may still not be as power efficient as the 3nm ones made by TSMC, which Apple uses. So when both are finally available in phones, it'll be interesting to see how they compare. As for foldable phones overall, they've come a long way since the early models. But even with better screens, stronger hinges, improved battery life, they still aren't flying off the shelves. Samsung has reportedly lowered its expectations for how many Fold 7 and Flip 7 phones it expects to sell. The company isn't aiming for huge numbers this time, it's keeping things more realistic. Many other phone makers have already started stepping away from the foldable market. It's expensive to design and produce these devices, and not every brand can compete with Samsung. If the phones aren't selling well enough, it just doesn't make sense for smaller brands to stay in the game. That said, Samsung still believes foldable phones are part of the future. And even if the Z Fold 7 and Flip 7 don't bring massive changes, they could still offer enough upgrades, like smoother performance, better multitasking, and improved battery life, to keep people interested. So what do you think? Are these foldable phones getting closer to being worth their price tags, or are they still more about showing off than being useful? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any updates on the latest smartphones and tech news. Would you pay over $1,000 for a phone that bends in half? Samsung is hoping the answer is still yes, because the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Z Flip 7 are almost ready to hit the market. Insider leaks say production is about to begin, which lines up with earlier reports pointing to a May manufacturing start. Even though there were some early challenges, mainly with the chips, it looks like everything is back on track now. Let's begin with the Fold 7. This phone is likely to feature the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, also known as the Snapdragon 8 Elite. It's the same processor used in the latest Galaxy S25 models, which means users can expect fast performance without compromise. That's important, especially for a device that's trying to combine the power of a flagship phone with the flexibility of a foldable screen. There were some early signs that Samsung might use their own Exynos chips in this model, but it seems like that idea has been dropped. Now, the Z Flip 7 has taken a slightly different path. This foldable was recently spotted in testing with Exynos processors, and not just one, but two versions were seen using them. That has sparked talk about whether Samsung is planning to bring back regional variants. If that happens, we could once again see some markets getting Snapdragon versions and others getting Exynos. A few years ago, Samsung stopped doing this after users complained about noticeable differences in speed, battery life, and heat management. If they return to that system, it might raise similar concerns. Looking beyond these two devices, Samsung is working hard to build better chips for future smartphones. The new Exynos 2600 processor, which uses a 2nm manufacturing process, is already in development. This chip could make its debut in the Galaxy S26 next year. The move makes sense. Samsung has been trying to reduce its reliance on outside chip makers like Qualcomm. According to recent updates, Samsung Foundry is making good progress toward this goal. Meanwhile, Apple is sticking with its 3nm chips for the iPhone 17 series. A jump to 2nm could happen